What's up everyone? My name is Marie. Welcome to my channel and welcome to another speed build. So for today's video, I am back in the world of Mount Komorebi. I know that I said that I wanted to move away from this world for a little bit because I did 3 builds in a row, which, I mean, it makes sense because the world is brand new. And I wanted to explore it and build in it and use the new objects on the new lots and stuff. But I did do 3 builds in a row in this world, so I figured I should move away from it for a little bit, which is what I did. I think I did like 2 different builds in different worlds, but for this one, I am back in Mount Komorebi because I'm just not done exploring this world, and I have not built on all of the lots just yet, obviously. And I really like this lot. I like the neighborhood this one is in. I don't know what it's called because I get confused with the neighborhood names and I just can't remember. But I really like this neighborhood. It's really like serene, if that makes sense. Like it looks so peaceful and so nice and quiet, and it kind of looks like a more like quiet area of a city, if that makes sense. But then there is still a lot of greenery around as well, and then there's that pretty river, of course. And I don't know, I just really like this neighborhood. And I think by default on this lot there is a house that I think is built by Simmarysims, judging by the style of house. I could be mistaken though. But I think it's by Simmarysims, and the house that's on this lot by default is so pretty. So I felt really bad bulldozing that, which is, I have that feeling for every single lot in this world because all of the builds are so beautiful, so pretty in their own way. But yeah, I'm a builder, so I wanna create my own builds for every lot and just play around with it myself. But yeah, still, I feel really bad whenever I have to bulldoze one of those amazing builds. But anyway, that is what I did though for this lot, obviously, as you can see. And I was really in the mood to just sit down and build something very modern, build a modern tiny house, which is exactly what I'm doing for this build on this lot. And I think it turned out really nicely. I did have a reference photo that I found on Pinterest of like a house, not an actual photograph, but more of like a house created in like some sort of 3D software, whatever. I don't really know. It's just like an idea for a house or something. I don't really know, but I found that on Pinterest and I really liked it. So I took that build for inspiration. I didn't necessarily one-on-one copy it. I just looked at it for the beams, basically. That's where I got the idea from. You can see those like beams that kind of like create an awning, even though it's not really an awning, but I'm pretty sure that you know what I mean. I just really liked the way that that looked, and I just took that idea and went with it and played around with platforms a lot. As you can see, I used a lot of split leveling for this tiny house, and what I like about it the most is that little sunken living area outside, like underneath those beams. You can kind of see that I created a sunken down platform basically, and I'll turn that into a little outdoor living space, which I think is really cozy and really nice looking. It's really kind of feels like an extension to the house, if that makes sense, even though it's outside. And that is really what I wanted to achieve. So because the house is so small, I wanted a nice outside living area as well, so that it, well, like I just mentioned, kind of feels like an extension to the house. And I think that worked out pretty nicely. So even though this is a tiny house, it is pretty luxurious. The outside area is very nice. You can see that I created a little driveway and I placed down a car from Debug, because I was thinking that even though this house is pretty small, the sim that's living here is not necessarily like, they still are pretty wealthy, I think, in my opinion, because I don't even know what the price of this house is. I didn't check at all, but I'm pretty sure that it's going to be not that cheap. It's probably not a starter home at all. because I didn't limit myself for or budget wise or anything. So it's probably pretty expensive for the size and everything. But yeah, it's pretty luxurious and modern. I created a little fountain in front of the house, as you can see, like a little pond with a fountain and a lot of greenery and makeshift planter boxes, if that makes sense, that I created with platforms that really feel like they're part of the house. So yeah, I really like the overall look and feel of this house. It's a tiny house, but at the same time pretty luxurious. And I didn't really do anything with the back of the lot. So this house does not have a backyard. I was kind of imagining that this lot was actually half the size of what it is in real life, quote unquote, like in the game. Because you can see that there is a lot of space left on the back of the lot, but I decided to not use that because I really wanted this house to feel like one unit. Like there's no backyard, like there's just the front porch area or the front like driveway area, and then the outside living area, and then the house itself. And it's all like one unit, if that makes sense. That is kind of like the feel that I wanted to try and create. So I decided to not utilize the back of the lot and just turn it into, I was thinking about it right there, but I decided against it. And I just kind of left it bare. I left it grass because that fits in with the rest of the world. There's a lot of grass around here. So I figured that wouldn't look too weird. You could even turn it into like a little park area or something if you wanted to do that. I just didn't do that. I decided to just not touch it as much. I did place down a couple of trees and make it look a little bit pretty, but I did feel like I was kind of imagining that the back of the lot was not part of this house, only the house itself and then whatever is in front of it outside, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I did finish up all of the landscaping and everything before I moved on to the inside of the house because I was really having a lot of fun with the whole vibe of this front area, if that makes any sense, with the driveway and the fountain and the outside bins. And I also placed down a bicycle because I feel like the person that lives here, they're really into riding their bike around because they have a car, but they don't always use it. Like they'll use it whenever they have to, but if they have to do something like in the city or that's pretty close by, they'll just use their bike, if that makes sense. But yeah, here you can see that I finally moved on to the inside of this little house. I did not place down any split leveling or platforms just yet, as you can see, but I will do that shortly. I did create already a little sunken entryway. I forgot the word for that. I know that there is a word for that, but I just can't think of it right now. But that's okay. And as you can see, the kitchen is a very, very tiny, and I placed that on a sunken platform as well. So there is a little bit of split leveling going on. And then the bathroom area will be connected to the bedroom area, even though it's not a fully closed off room, but I kind of placed the bed higher up, if that makes sense, to kind of make it feel like it's a separate area. Even though I did not close any rooms off in this house because it is a tiny house and I kind of wanted it to be like all one room, all one area, kind of like a studio apartment, except it's a house and not an apartment. So that is kind of the look and feel that I wanted to create, though the bathroom obviously is a separate room because that would not make any sense. But yeah, I'll move on to the bedroom area a little bit later on. I was struggling a lot with this floor plan. I don't know why, probably because it is really small and the size or the shape of it is pretty funky. And there is also a lot of very large windows, which I didn't want to change that because that's kind of the thing that I like about this house is that there is so many like larger windows. There's a lot of sunlight or natural daylight coming into this house and it makes it feel way bigger than it actually is. So I didn't really want to replace the bigger windows with smaller windows. I just kind of wanted to leave it like this. So that is what I did, but I did have to work around that a little bit. I also placed down the kitchen counters against the window, which is something that I don't really normally like to do. I don't really want to place kitchen counters against a window, but for this house, I figured it's okay. There's also bushes on the other side of the window outside, so you can't really see it. So it doesn't really look that weird. So for this one, I decided that that was okay. But here you can see I already placed down that step up bedroom, if that makes any sense. And I created stairs out of the platforms as well. That's the only way that I could make it work. And I actually really like the look of it. I did have some routing issues, but that was because of the plant that is next to the door to the bathroom. I had to size that plant down a little bit, but then it worked. So if you want to download this house off the gallery, then you'll see that that plant is a little bit smaller. But for the rest, the floor plan worked out just fine. I did not have any routing issues with it. So yeah, I was really happy with that as well. And I did not have the space to place down a dresser anywhere, by the way, except for in the little entryway. So that's what I decided to do. I did not have any space left anywhere for a dresser elsewhere, so I just decided it kind of makes sense. It's where you hang your coat and where you take off your shoes and stuff. I mean, there might just as well be a dresser in the entryway. So that's what I decided to do, and I really like the way that that it looks. Kind of gives the illusion of more storage space, even though your Sims don't really need that, but still, it kind of felt weird to not include a dresser at all, because I don't know, that just kind of seems a little bit fake. I mean, where are you going to be storing all your stuff and your clothes? Just makes no sense. So I decided to do that, and here you can see I moved on to the tiny little living area. I placed down a couch like tucked away in that little space or that little corner right there, and I think it looks really, really nice. I love the color of the couch as well in this house. It kind of gives this little, just a little bit of a contrast. There's a lot of darker browns and grays and whites in this house. So I really liked the warmer neutral tone of the couch. It just kind of breaks it up a little bit, and I think it's really pretty. I normally don't really like placing down TVs like I did for this house. I always like to place them down against a wall somewhere because of all the wiring and stuff that you would have in real life. But in The Sims, nothing is wired, so it doesn't really matter. So for this one, I decided that I could just do it this way. And just pretend it's still pretty close to a wall, so I could still just kind of pretend that the wire situation makes sense and that it's all plugged into the wall, even though there isn't any wires. But still, I like to think about these little details whenever I'm furnishing in The Sims for some reason. I also made sure that there is an accessible bookcase in this house, as you can see right here on the wall. And I created a little reading nook as well, so your Sim can just sit there, relax, and read a book. I really liked that idea, to have just like that extra chair right there, even though it's only a house for one Sim. But I always just kind of like to create different seating areas, so you don't always have to sit on the couch or always have to sit on that one chair, if that makes any sense. But here I finally moved on to the kitchen. One thing I have been doing lately is creating the floor plan, placing down the furniture, but not cluttering it up right away. I don't know why. It's just a new thing that I have been doing. I don't know, but it kind of works. Like, I'll just place down the kitchen and then move on to the living room or something else, or move on to the dining room or whatever. But lately I have just been placing down kitchen counters and just leaving it like that for a little bit and then come back to it later to clutter it all up. It's different, but it still kind of works, because sometimes I will just not feel like cluttering right away, because it does take a lot of time. And like precision, if that makes any sense. And I don't know, it's just something that I have been putting off a little bit, even though I really like cluttering. But yeah, here you can see that I finally moved back to the kitchen and cluttered it up. And I like the way that it turned out. It's cluttered, but not too cluttered, but still feels kind of lived in. And I almost forgot a bin, but I remembered and I placed it down. And I also did not forget to place down outside bins, so I did that as well. So your Sim should be fine with the whole trash situation, if that makes sense. But yeah, overall, I really like the way that this house turned out. I did not have the space for a proper study area, so I just placed down a little laptop on the dining table, so your sim can just sit there and use the laptop if they need to. But yeah, for the storyline for this house, by the way, I didn't really have one. I don't know what's up with that, but lately I have been feeling a little bit uninspired when it comes to storylines, which is a little bit annoying. Like, usually I love thinking about storylines, thinking about families, personalities, and creating a house for them. But lately I have just been into sitting down, building something, and seeing where it takes me, basically. Which is, that's not a bad thing at all, but I don't know, for my latest builds, I just didn't really have any crazy creative storylines or anything. And it's kind of frustrating me a little bit because it always gives me, well, for one thing, it gives me something to talk about whenever I'm doing a voiceover, and I really love like talking about Sims and storylines. And I can't do that if I don't have a storyline, which is fine. I mean, I can just talk about the build, which I also really like to do, but it just gives it that little extra personality if I do have a personality or a storyline for a sim. So I don't know, I don't know what's up with that. I have just been feeling like building and creating and just seeing where it takes me. But I do just kind of want to take time and sit down and think of storylines, think of personalities. So if you have any suggestions for storylines or Sims or like family situations that you want to see a build for, you can always let me know. I'd love to hear your suggestions and your ideas. If you have, like, for example, if you have a family in your game that you're playing and you want them to move into a new house, you can just explain the storyline if you want to, and I can build them a house or something. I would love to hear your storylines. I think that would be really fun. But yeah, I just placed down a little extra dining table here outside, and then we're already going to be moving on to the screenshots. So I really hope that you enjoyed this build. You can definitely go ahead and download it off the gallery if you want to. My username on the gallery is Simmarysims. You can also follow me on Twitter and on Instagram if you'd like. My username on there is Simmarysims as well. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in my next build. Bye!